All right, welcome, guys. So happy to be with you guys here today. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Seahon. This is the Truth Matters. I'm going to have to get, get into the flow of that. We're here on our new show, The Truth Matters. I'm here co-hosting with Craig Walker. How you doing, Craig?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. Good to be here. Cheers.
Awesome. And we are really excited to have Neil back with us. We've done a few things in the past, and this is the first time actually he's on our show, although we've done a lot of things with Portal to Ascension, which he can talk about too. There's a few things coming up that he may want to, get out there and make sure you guys are all in the loop of everything that's happening. But welcome, Neil. I'm going to have you. We've had you on for panels, actually, lots of panels having to do with music, frequency. Gosh, you have like ancestral stuff. You have been to some cool places in your travel. You have so much going on, and you have not only that, but hosted many, many people. So you're just a wealth of information. But the topic for today is unity consciousness, which is real specific to a lot of things happening right now. But I'm going to have you introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll go right into that topic, guys.
Yes. Go ahead, Greg. You're going to say
No,
something.
sorry, I was just agreeing with Sharnael. You introduce yourself.
So it's so nice to be here with you all. Thank you, Dr. Sharnael, Craig. It's great to be with you guys. And my name is Neil, as Dr. Sharnael said, and I'm the founder of Portal to Ascension. And I guess I'll do just a quick summary of my journey. We were speaking a little bit about like my childhood right before I got on here, because we've all spent time in England. Craig is currently there, living there, right? And I was actually born in England, moved to California when I was 12 years old, and I was raised in a Hindu family. So I was pretty much did all the rites and rituals, lots of Indians in England, especially in London. I would be going to temple. I would be singing bhajans, which are hymns, And then when I got a little older and I was in Irvine over in California, and then about to graduate high school, 17, 18, I kind of reflected on myself and realized, what did I believe in? Because I was just doing everything I was told, but it was completely ritualistic. And that's a whole other like podcast on the ritualization of religion over the devolution of consciousness. But then Hinduism, that came from something so beautiful, and some poetry about, our position in the universe and oneness and interconnectedness, had become so ritualistic that a lot of people following it blindly. And I was one of them. I was just following what my parents had told me to do. And when I graduated high school, went to college at Cal State Fullerton, and then I was introduced to a whole new world of people and lots of different topics and music. And as I was doing that, I was writing spoken word poetry. And the poetry I was writing was kind of like sci-fi in nature, because it was like black hole this, ET's here, planet here, but it was completely without me actually being consciously into this information. So I started looking up some of the topics that I was, because I wanted to increase my vocabulary for my poetry, my spoken word. And then I also was curious. The first thing that came to me in regards that started my whole journey was, what is the root of all religion? And the reason why I had that thought was because as a Hindu being raised, I was never told my religion was the only religion, like most people are. In Hinduism, they don't even focus on other religions, right? And side note, the only one they do focus on is Islam, because of the centuries of turbulence between the two religions. So they like, every religion exists except for Islam, and that's because of all of the animosity and resentment that they have towards each other. But I wasn't ever told that my way was the only way. So I was raised celebrating Christmas in England, watching Kings of Kings, watching all Jesus stuff. And so I started realizing, because my head was connecting the dots, that there were so many similarities within these stories. So why are we focusing on what separates us rather than what connects us? And that started my journey down the rabbit hole that first started with the Sumerian scriptures, soon went into extraterrestrial awareness. And now I've created Portal to Ascension, which has become this organization that we're just kind of dissecting our consciousness, our history, what it means to be human in this universe on every level possible, in order to really paint a beautiful tapestry, really, of how incredible it is to be a human having this experience on Earth.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's
that
a
was
lot.
so good. Go on, Sharnael.
So it's isn't it strange how there's like no coincidence? I mean, there's the synchronicities are crazy
I was
because
just doing the exact same thing.
just because, like even before we were talking on live, I actually lived in England too, and I also went to university there. I lived there when I was 10 years old when my dad was trying to be recruited for Westinghouse because of the Montauk project, and then I went back later in college time. But just your history, even with religion and, the ritualistic, kind of looking at what you're doing. I didn't grow up Christian. I grew up with really nothing. But when I moved to the South, coming back from overseas in Germany, I moved here and everybody was like all about everything religion. So it was kind of like my way to meet people and understand stuff. I did ask a lot of questions and I did go against the grain because they had been doing it since whatever. I was 13 and I'm like, now why do we do it? Why is this, and so they didn't really like that. But I slowly, I don't know if it was because I didn't grow up with anything that I asked a lot of questions, but it, kind of the same kind of journey of like, why are we doing this? What is the point? Like, what's the real thing, And I think Craig too, like our journey is similar with yours. Is like we all just kind of were like, okay, now what? And just asking those questions and, letting people have the permission to ask those questions. But I love that you started this with poetry. I mean, I've listened to your poems and your raps and all your great things. So yeah, but Greg, go ahead and jump in.
It's again, just thinking about the synchronicities. I mean, what I love about what's happening at the moment, sort of globally. By the way, Neil, I'm in a band called Ascension as well. So there's a link there with the Ascension thing. And how, you can come from a Hindu background and we can come from a Christian background and we're meeting together. And it's like the how religion has divided us. And this leads nicely into the topic. Religion does divide. However, when you get to the real sort of meat and potatoes of what these religions are about, they're all talking about the same thing. It's all about love. It's about grace. It's about spiritual ascension and growth. It's just, there are agendas out there that have turned them into control mechanisms. And that's where the ritual comes in. Like, you must do X, Y, and Z in order to be ABC, And what we're discovering is we're already everything we already wanted to be. And to me, to talk to someone who's come through Hinduism is really fascinating because I've, in a part of my sort of journey, I've looked at the certainly the ancient texts of Hinduism and their record of kind of what happened in India in ancient times and things like that, and all the beings and it links really nicely into the extraterrestrial narrative because we're talking about these blue beings and I believe there's a record of an atomic war, a nuclear war, sorry, which is geographically, you can prove it. So what's your take on kind of like these religions coming together, unity consciousness in the sense of religion and where it's going and what's happening?
So we 100% agree with everything you said. Organized religion has unfortunately got to a point where it's very divisive. As soon as something comes up to says that my way is the only way and this is the one way to God, immediate red flags are put up for me. And within the Indian text, actually, some original text, it actually talks about why there is no way to convert to Hinduism. There's no way to convert to Hinduism. If you want to call yourself Hindu, you can say I'm Hindu right now, but there's no way to convert. And the reason for that is a line from the Rig Veda, right, which predates Hinduism, the Vedas. There are many pathways to the same destination. That's like one of my favorite quotes ever. And that's in essence speaking about the fact that we're all going to end up in the same place. And, so you can live a good life no matter what way you decide to go there, to go and what route that you choose to go through, whether it's Hinduism or another one. Now, in regards to the ritualization, the division of religion, I like to connect that to the cycles of time, the yuga cycles, right? And we have this 25 to 26,000 year cycle that seems to be an evolution of consciousness and a devolution of consciousness. And the Kali Yuga, which is the age that we've been in, there's a couple of different dates, but one of the dating that I really subscribe to is it ended in the 1700, and then there was 200 year of a transitory phase, and in 1900 we fully emerged into the next age, which is the age of energy. The age of the Kali Yuga has a few themes. The age of hierarchy, meaning that everything's based on hierarchical structures, political power, kings, queens. The age of authority, you give your power up to authority figures. And the age of rituals. So it becomes, or you can say an age of contracts, that you literally say, if I do this, this, and this, God, please give me this. But ultimately, that doesn't even work because that's coming from a completely lack perspective. So what's happening now, and back to what you mentioned, is part of the unity consciousness, to tie it all in here, is that within what we're doing, our spiritual beliefs, if you will, or a spiritual knowing, is that there are people from all types of religions. It's like a sub, sect of all the spiritual traditions in the world that has now been created in order for us in this globalized world, for people of all types of walks and paths to be able to come to. And a lot of times, some of these individuals don't even drop their entire upbringing. Many Christian people that followed Jesus dropped all the organized religions, but still connect with Jesus as an avatar and are completely aware that Buddha existed, Krishna existed, and all that. But then if you go even deeper and you start dissecting these prophets and saints, you see that there's so many similarities within them that it's almost like the same person in a different century, or the universe is reflecting some sort of similar cosmic soup to manifest the same incarnations. Right? Like the Christo in Greece, Krishna, born to a virgin mother, known as the savior to his people. Father was a carpenter. All of these things that are so connected. And then Pythagoras, for example, Pythagoras and Christ have almost the exact same recipe of existence. So what this shows to me is that there is some sort of original source code that we all came from. And as we devolved in consciousness, we started fragmenting from that, and now it's a time for us to go back to realizing we're interconnected.
Yes, and you mentioned the thing about the red flag with someone saying this is the only way and don't listen to anybody else. Yeah. I mean, I think talking about present day, we're seeing that even amongst spiritual communities where people are like, no, everyone stop listening to that person because they're, whatever, you need to listen to me. I'm the only one who has the thing, and we've seen that with scary shit where people end up all dying drinking the Kool-Aid, literally, versus, other stuff, maybe that was a false flag. I don't know, but you know what I mean? But we're seeing a lot of divisions even within the spiritual community. And I think Craig and I had come out of, Christianity, religion, and the prophetic movement and the healing movements and all this stuff. And we saw a lot of that there. And it was like, man, that sucks, because, you think about people and you look up to them, or you want to find a place or a tribe where everyone gets along, and you're just like, yay, this is awesome. And you just feel good because you're happy and all these people and we can be together. And then, we kind of saw some stuff where we're like, that sucks. And so, we move out, we get into this group, and then I'm like, oh man, it's still here, and yes, it's because it's me, and I, there is no them, but also, you know what I'm saying? Have you seen a lot of division stuff, even within the spiritual communities?
Oh man, I could do a full 4-hour workshop on the division in the community and break it all down from UFOs to everything, because I've just worked with so many people and on all types of sides, right? So I like to call Portal to Ascension a non-biased, unconditional platform. So that's why we have people from all types of perspectives. A lot of people that disagree with each other that would never talk in the same platform or have the conversations on Portal to Ascension. So but at the same time, try to keep the middle ground and realize the bigger picture, that we all have more in common with each other than that we don't. And ultimately, we're just a vibration experiencing itself infinitely. That's the ultimate thing that's going on. Source wanted to experience itself infinitely. Source is the singularity, the center of the black hole, if you will. Duality, where we have good, bad, two to opposite sides, are still a part of that singularity. That's that God, that conscious, that source isn't just the light. It's all of it, So having the bigger picture is what I really try to like put out there for the community. But to talk about some of the division here, I'll say this, like the whole thing about one way to God, like if you look at the Christian text, it comes from pretty much this quote, and I don't know the full one, but basically Jesus said, "I am the light and the way," right? And through that quote, that line right there is the number one reason why they believe that Jesus is the way. But if you look at Krishna said, "I am the light and the way" as well. And then I did this whole research project on all different prophets that said the same exact thing. So
Really?
yeah, and so but then if you dissect it a little, there's one of two things there. Either they meant what they said earlier before they said that, which is live like me in order to be fully free, and the kingdom of heaven is within you, right? So basically, that I think that's what it really is. It's telling basically this is how you can live in the light and how you can connect to source, you know. And there's just so much information in all of these texts that are really just saying that this is the way and living this way. But a lot of people think that when you are just religious and you just do what you basically have to do within that construct, you have a place in heaven. But isn't it really about accepting people through non-judgment and loving yourself and giving compassion to others? I feel that is the entrance into the kingdom of heaven. And the entrance to the kingdom of heaven is us bringing this down to earth. It's so interesting to me how many people are literally like judging the heck out of people because they're trying to reserve a place for themselves in the afterlife. You know, why can't we just do that now right here and bring heaven down to earth, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I would talk about the division. Yeah, like it's been there's always been communities that have really been, about this is the one way. And like even within, let's just say yoga communities, for example, there's yoga traditions like that specifically say this is the only yoga tradition. All the other ones are fragments of the truth and, are taking you down the wrong spiritual path. And then if you get into the UFO disclosure community, and then you get into political ideology. Over the last 6 years, the spiritual community, which is a non-centralized community, right? Anyway, is literally fragmented so much. Even within the UFO community, there was like 2 fragmentations, and then there was multiple ones within that. And all I can say to that is divide and conquer has been the name of the game for a long, long time. Exactly. Right? Yeah. And a lot of individuals, because of their own beliefs, upbringing, and traumas, right? Whether like something happened to you as a child and now you're grabbing onto something and someone because you feel that they're going to be bringing justice to something that you are actively against because it happened to you, or you just have a firm belief in something being incorrect or wrong, or you have emotional triggers and traumas from your mom and dad being brought up. I use my discernment and I can really see almost where these issues come from. So what is the bottom line? The bottom line is for us to work out these issues within ourselves. That's why it goes back to the inner work. And now here we go with unity consciousness again. Unity consciousness thereby symbolizes that we're all one interconnected consciousness and that we can live together in harmony, which is like, I'm talking about it in external reality. But unity consciousness, just like many things within the world, the universe, is paradoxical. The only way you can ever create unity consciousness is by doing the inner work and fixing your own issues. If you're coming from a place of reaction, you got to really tune into why you say and do and want certain things. But in this rat race where we have so many things going on, a lot of people don't have time to have that self-reflection. So for us to really get to a place where, that you go to these communities and you realize that they are the place that you want to be, would be places and people that are actively doing the inner work and self-reflecting on themselves and having safe and open discussions in order to really like speak about things without being held against them, right? Telling people how we feel, going to the root of why we feel this way, and then shifting it to the bigger perspective of, even though we have these differences, what's really the reason that we're into this in the first place? We want to uplift consciousness. We want to empower humanity to become the sovereign beings they're meant to be, right?
Yeah, I think Craig and I can relate to, especially we have a lot of people on our show that we don't even agree with necessarily. I mean, bits and pieces, but for the purpose of having a conversation that's healthy about the topics of different perspectives, because truth is relative. And yes, there are facts, but then there's also truth, and truth is how you see it from all of those fractured, kind of facets of who we are individually, and all those experiences that we've had. And so I like talking to people about things. Now, I don't want to argue or be, crazy about it. I like an actual healthy conversation about it. But we've had people, unfollow people or unfollow us or say crappy things in comments or whatever. And, Craig, I'm sure you have something to say too, but it's crazy. It's like, can't we just talk? Like, is it okay to have someone different on our show? It doesn't mean that we're endorsing or that you have, you're endorsing anybody in your Ascension to a portals to Ascension thing, which is huge, by the way. You have had what, 1,500 interviews or something on that whole thing. It's like Netflix, really. But Craig, you got anything?
Yeah, just again, getting back to in my own personal journey, we Neil, there was a massive kind of thing happening around 2016 where a lot of people started deconstructing what we call deconstructing from what religion had done to the teachings of Christ, for example, and realizing that what was taught by mainstream religion is not what Christ taught, and we were discovering what Christ actually taught. Just as an example, and one of the big ones was discovering that the message of Christ is that the indwelling Christ in every one of us in all things. Whereas religion teaches you have to do ABC in order to have Christ in you, and that's not what Jesus taught. And so when I discovered this, I felt the liberty and freedom to go and investigate in what had been told to me were no-go areas. For example, Muslims, New Ages, atheists, and speaking to these people. And I realized that, wow, we can recognize the divine in every single other being on this planet. And that's what the word namaste means. Is that Hindu? I can't remember.
Yeah. Hindi / Sanskrit,
Yeah, that's it. And that made me realize that Hinduism already has a grasp on this, that the divine fills all things. And what matters is our awareness of that. And so, I just went out there and I realized that, talking about unity consciousness, I discovered that what Jewish rabbis say is when two of them kind of seem to have polar opposite opinions, that doesn't make them enemies. That makes them friends because they have something for each other. So they'll talk it out and they'll kind of thrash ideas around. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my dogs in the background. So they thrash these ideas around and actually find that place of agreement, and then they become friends. So when you seem to have opposite opinions, let's stop seeing each other as enemies. We're friends. We're to come together and discuss it, and this is how we're going to grow and ascend as a species. That's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, we need to have rational conversations with each other about these things. So many right now, it's just the whole canceling of people when you don't agree with them, and then not wanting to even listen to them or give them a platform to speak on, right? That just shows so much. If you disagree with them, you're a little upset. Maybe you have some triggers that you haven't worked out and you can't have the conversation yet. But to be like, no, I won't even read their articles. I won't even watch that podcast because you heard it through the grapevine like 2 to 3 times, removed from the original source, which is what's literally happening all the time in media. Like, it's just like nonstop that they just don't want to listen to other people anymore, which goes to show that there is an agenda happening rather than, anything else. It's an agenda is to not even acknowledge it because they don't want you to even have that conflicting perspective, because maybe you could bring some balance in this world and maybe make us realize that. Now I'm specifically going into the elite, right? And the power structure here, but make us realize that they don't have our best interest in mind. And it's not like they don't have our best interest in mind to a little point. They literally don't care. And they have an agenda, and the agenda is the only thing that matters, but we don't. So we need to really transcend this and have these conversations. Unfortunately, marketing is huge, and the thing that has the money behind it to market this are beliefs that help divide people. So which is why like people like us on the grassroots level are just here really trying to really bridge the gap and bring it together. And no matter what, I'm a really hopeful person. I feel like it's inevitable that a lot of people say like think it's hopeless. I've heard people think that a lot, but what I see is every time something happens, another percentage of people wake up, and so as long as we continue going that way, that's good. Plus, in this world of duality, right now, let's get to the bigger picture again. We're incarnated with amnesia. What does that mean? We don't remember our past lives. We don't remember consciously our connection to source. We don't remember our extraterrestrial lives. And this is actually verifiable facts for me, because the whole fact that past lives exist, there's enough documentaries out there that will blow your mind and be like, whoa, something's going on. But we don't remember. So we're in this planet of amnesia. I feel like source wanted to experience itself infinitely. That was the original concept. And then the best way to experience yourself to the depths of infinity is to not only have a world of free will, but to have a world of amnesia where you have free will. And we're in this world right now where we're literally trying to figure it out and reconnect to source when we have the cards stacked against us. So as we move forward and we start remembering these things, a lot of different things are going to come back online, I feel. And we've been in this age of forgetfulness for quite some time. But as all ancient civilizations have really prophesized, that there is a time for us to reconnect to that. So that's why I'm hopeful. I feel like it's inevitable. We're going to move towards it. Plus, I don't judge the fact that we didn't know we've had this duality. In a world of duality, in a world of amnesia and free will, what's the best way to know what you want? When you literally have amnesia, is to experience what you don't want, right? Why is it that the best alcohol and drug counselors are ex-alcoholics and drug counselors? I mean, drug addicts. Do you want to go to someone who just got a degree, or someone who experienced it and transcended it, right? So that's what's happening with all this darkness. So even I don't have any judgment towards the darkness, and I never get triggered from seeing it. I see the chaos as an opportunity for us to really understand what we want. I see the struggle as a necessary part of the growing pains, so that we can really become the masters. If we don't have the lessons, how are we going to be the masters and the teachers with the next dimension?
That is so good, and I've got in trouble for saying similar things, because when you go in down the path of the darkness and kind of the evil that happens in the world, and you recognize those that are responsible for this, the initial tendency is to go, well, they deserve to get a bullet through the head, and that's the initial feeling that comes up. However, we cannot escape the fact that we are one with these people. We are one with these entities, and they are a part of who we are. And that's a really, really powerful thing to come to terms with. And I think
shift.
It is huge. And I think the justice that we've experienced in the past of somebody does something bad and they suffer for that, I think that's not the path to ascension. I think the way we're moving forward is going to be we heal rather than punish. My dream is to see these characters who've committed the most heinous crimes against humanity actually turn from that and actually have an awakening themselves. Wouldn't that be the best outcome possible? I mean, I still don't lose this thing, like what they've done to humanity, particularly over the past few years, makes me angry. But like you just said so brilliantly, it's a part of the journey and a part of the lesson to overcome.
Right. And it's like, so when in 2008, I shifted from hardcore conspiracies for 8 years. What have they done to us? Look what they're doing to us, right? To understanding that the darkness is working for the light and giving us the experience they wanted to. So then there was another division within that from people that perceived me. That means that you're spiritual bypassing and that you're not going to hold them accountable. And then there's the other one of that when you get to a place of non-reaction, you're able to take more action. When you're not coming from a place of being triggered, but you understand the bigger picture. So I call it informed action. So even though I don't have the judgment per se, I still take informed action to correct what I feel is not even injustice, but disharmonic is how I perceive it, right? How to bring harmony.
That's amazing. That is, I got chills. That is amazing. And you know, even with the present time again, like if you want to go in the political route, I have friends that live in Russia, but I mean that live in states and have been living in the states for decades, and they're Russian. And I had given them a call like a couple days ago just to check in, because I know this cancel thing that you're discussing. It's crazy. It's insane what they're doing, and these guys have nothing to do with what the elites are doing over there, or what any more than what we can control with 9/11 or all the false, shit that's going on here. So. It sucks, but I did talk to them, and what's ironic is they're actually have a student there from the Ukraine that they have in their home as an exchange student right now, and the kid's family is in the Ukraine, hiding in some shed out in the forest, trying to get whatever to keep their lives. And so here's a Russian couple that have a Ukrainian exchange student. Both of their parents, they're Russian. Both of their parents, one of them each is Ukrainian, and it's so intertwined. They had this whole discussion about stuff. But
wow,
yeah, and they're basically like, we hate this. We don't want this to happen. We're really proud to be Russian, and we're really proud of our country, and we always looked at the military as a thing to protect our motherland, but to invade another country is not what they've agreed. But here they're going through all this trauma of Americans being really rude to them because of their Russian last name, or because they know that they're Russian. And so but they actually have a Ukrainian student that they've been for a year taking care of. So obviously, but this whole cancel thing just drives me insane.
People suffer, the people suffer, not the politicians. They're still eating whatever they want to eat and living however they want to live. And just the regular people suffer. I mean, look at
exactly right.
And this is just the lowest level, I guess, but not for some. They got the freaking gas prices, right? Like they're fine with it all, right? I saw a couple of celebrities posting about don't worry about the gas prices. This is the price of freedom. And I'm like, your money can literally fill up everybody's tank in the world twice over right now.
Yeah.
So you can talk,
But this has nothing to do with freedom either.
Yeah.
This is a result of what happened months ago with the president that we have, if you want to call him a president now. So, but that's what they want to say, so they have some way to shift this to blame, because they're not going to take responsibility, which sucks. And going back to responsibility, I want to bring this up too, because the whole cancel thing, a lot of times people will block someone, not respond, not look at articles like you mentioned or whatever. And then if you ask hey, what's going on with y'all too, or whatever, it's like, yeah, I cut them off. I have to have healthy boundaries, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wait a minute. So you guys didn't even talk? There's no room for discussion. And so I think a lot of times they use the psychology words that are trendy to be like, I'm having healthy boundaries, as their cancel justification. And it's like, why can't we just talk? Why are we not having a discussion about things? If you would like me to jump in, I'll be a mediator and we can all three talk, but I'm sure you're seeing that too, where it's just like, wow, really? Because we're adults in a spiritual community, right?
Yeah. I'm seeing it so much that I literally have to incorporate it into my business plan. You know what I'm saying? I do about 110 events a year, and around over 1,000 people a year on events, and all types of beliefs, So I'm having to navigate around personalities all the time because of this. And then the amount of feedback I get from people without the realization of how much work I put into these things. So I'm always told what I should do from others, constantly. Daily I get emails on that. And you should have done this. Why didn't you do this? And not realizing all the steps and the months and all the work that went to even creating it, as if I can just do what somebody asked me to do. So it's just, it's become this really interesting field of experiences that I'm within right now. And yeah, it did over the last 6 years, it took off more than ever before. And now I'm kind of just writing it out, and really just like, I had to work on myself a lot to not take things personally. Is really what it came down to. Because I used to get some emails. First of all, I get like 90% of my emails are just like 100% unconditional love, gratitude. More than that most times. But then I used to get some hurtful emails after I just put in so much work and effort, made all these personal sacrifices in my life, and they would make me cry sometimes, like the type of things that people would say to me, because I'm already having a challenge just trying to make it. Because when you're like 100% responsible for your own life, your own like income stream and everything like that, it's like sometimes it feels like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I'm getting kind of emotional just even talking about it. Like, when you're responsible for just like creating your own life, your income, what you do, your website, your events, and then I get some negative feedback like that after I put so much energy out, it really can hurt,
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, again, in the music world, you put so much time, effort, and your heart and soul into writing this music. And you'll send it off to the reviewers, and they'll be like, "It's crap." It's just like, just because you don't like it, it's fine. You don't have to like it, but it's like sometimes it's just outright disrespectful, And like you say, when you put your heart and soul into something, and it can be quite painful.
Yeah.
But you've just got to learn, like you said, you've got to do the
Not
inner
take
work,
things
haven't you?
personally. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
realize that people are coming from their own traumas. And so I take the time now and like breathe into it, meditate a little bit if I feel some energy coming up, and then explain the situation if I can. But sometimes I get 100, 200 emails a day, customer service. I can't even go through them all. But if I ever take some time, I respond. 9 times out of 10, they respond back apologizing.
Right.
Which is interesting, It's just people don't have perspective, and we're reacting to things because there's so much happening around us all the time, and people being triggered all the time. So really taking into place that deep down, everybody wants the same thing: to love and be loved, And if they're triggered or upset, there's some sort of lack of that experience in their life, right?
Yeah. I just had like a session this week actually because of the whole taking it personal thing. I was like, I had a thing and it was like, I did all this stuff. There were agreements made. All this stuff was worked on. I've been waiting on something for months and months and nothing's coming through. This thing was not happening. And, went back to like making an agreement with someone and they just decided not to do it and didn't give the money back. Didn't show. Anyway, it's a long thing, but I was like, it's one thing to let them go and be like, okay, I forgive you for that. And, or I forgive you for the emails. Cause we get them too. Like, why don't you do this? Why haven't you done this way? This is what I would do if I were you. I'm like, guess what? You're not me. And there's a reason why I'm doing it this way. And I don't have to explain to you all the reasons why I'm doing it this way, or why we have so-and-so on our show, or why we use this platform, or why we don't use this platform, or, but I think it's Elvis who said, like, you got to walk a mile in a man's shoes or something, or a woman's shoes before. Yeah. And it's like, what about charges, or why do you charge for this? It's like, well, this is a $35,000 conference. And so, yeah, we're going to charge to make sure that we can cover all the bases or what have you. Yeah. So you could go all day about that, but taking it personal for me, that is a biggie. And I don't know about any of you watching, maybe you're all going through your thing, but I was like, wow, I can get like 99 really good comments on a post that I spent time or whatever, a video or a conference. And then you get like the 2 like really mean ones and you're like, man. So I was like, I got to get to that point where it's like, I not that I don't care, because I do care, meaning about the person, but that I like your perspective. Is just like, they're going through triggers. They're going through their own reaction. They don't see the big picture. It's okay. And on scalar waves, you can see like, if you're at like 475, 500 and someone comes in and they're like a 50, they're literally not on your wavelength anyway. Yeah. So sometimes it's not even important to try to explain or defend, because no matter what information is given, they're just not going to see where you're at. And that's okay.
Yeah. And I've seen, I feel like a lot of the comments that I have received like that come from a place of fear, because it's like, this should be done in this way, because this will help more people, including myself. Why didn't you do this? Because this would be what the end result of these comments are basically like, if this was done like this, it would be more impactful. So what is it that they're coming from? They're coming from a place of fear because they really want this to be even more impactful so people can change and shift their own realities. So, I've been in fear. I was in fear until 2008. I was in 8 years of fear from age 18 to to 26. I was still a pretty chill college kid, hanging out, smoking weed with my friends, But at the same time, I was like a hardcore conspiracy theorist. And then it shifted because I realized, like, something that I like to say now is that the most unconditional thing that the light ever did is allow the darkness to exist within it. Because it's just one speck of light experiencing itself infinitely. And that goes back to the Gnostic texts, the pre-325 AD, pre the Council of Nicaea, pre the manipulation of over 100 Gospels, and in which they have a whole story about Lucifer. And basically the story goes, this is before it was changed. And then in the medieval times, the story of the devil became even more of a thing. Before that, wasn't really much of a thing. That God basically said, this is like the creation of earth, of humans on earth. I need a volunteer to go down to earth to give him the experience of darkness. And who volunteered? His most trusted angel, Lucifer. But the agreement was that when the kingdom of heaven returns to earth, you need to give me back the keys. No questions asked.
Wow.
But until then, you have free range. And that goes into the Gospel of Judas, where that was found a decade ago. And the Gospel of Judas, Jesus came up to Judas and said, this is what I need you to do, bro. Completely shifts the narrative.
Wow, it does.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the whole thing of like, this is all happening. The number one agenda was the way this is all playing out, on the bigger picture. And so if we all collectively got to that point, then we could probably shift overnight, if we realized, that this is all happening the way it's supposed to. Like Shakespeare said, this is definitely a stage. The whole world is literally a stage, and we're just playing it out right now. So having that bigger picture has assisted me. In 2008 is the same year I shifted from fear to love. The same year I saw the bigger picture, and the same year a week later is when I changed my Facebook group to Portal to Ascension and started doing events. And that was like, so It was almost like I had to go through an initiation of 8 years of like, whoa, what are they doing to us? Until I had that realization. And as soon as I did, I had a dream 1 week later, and it was change the name to Portal to Ascension. And then I've been doing things ever since.
That's really interesting. Just as a little side note, the band was originally called Nth Degree when we first started. And our now former keyboard player had a dream, and he was told to change the name to Nth Ascension.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah, just a little side note there. But yeah, this is such a really, really out there. Well, not out there. It's a powerful topic, because with everything we're going through in the world right now, we are literally face to face with evil. We're face to face with the darkness, and the deep darkness that was prophesied would cover the earth.
Yes.
But what does it also say? Arise and shine, your light has come. And I don't pretend to know that I know how it's going to play out, but all I know is, like you said, Neil, I'm a serial optimist. I choose to believe we're okay. We're in a loving universe where we are deeply, deeply loved and cared for. We have a part to play in that, and how we respond to that is down to us, obviously. And I think the discussion of unity consciousness is one of the most important, in my opinion, at the moment, particularly with all the division. And I think it is a tactic of dare I say, the darkness to divide those of us who are seeking to unite with each other. Like you say, we see it in the spiritual community,
right?
But I love the way that you deal with, because I, as Sharnael and I have stepped out and we're partnering in this Truth Matters show, I'm realizing we could have a guest on who really doesn't get along with our next guest, for example.
Yeah,
it's happened much.
You know what I mean?
And we have it scheduled like way in advance, and then we just find out, oh shit, they hate each other. And
and it's just like, how do we deal with this? But like you say, we're just facilitators of the discussion, and they've got their own kind of traumas and issues to deal with, and we can only hope and pray that they're doing that. But by hosting our own show, we are putting ourselves out there to have that adult discussion, the unifying discussion. Like, you've got a view, you've got a view. Let's come together. Let's talk. Let's thrash it out. You know, we're not enemies. We're one. We're united together as one.
Seriously, yeah. And to think that because you don't agree with someone, they have nothing to offer. That's the root of cancel culture, you know. Because this thing, like, a lot of people that I don't agree with, I take pieces of information from. Absolutely. Which is why I have no guru there. Exactly. I don't follow any guru. I have many teachers, and I don't fully believe every one of them. You know, and a lot of times people are asked. Let me just say this real quick. A lot of people ask other people's opinions on things that isn't really what they're doing anyway. You know, like a guru asked them about some sort of experience or some sort of thing that isn't even the wheelhouse, or a UFO disclosure person is asked about what this means for religion. You know what I mean? And then people take beliefs on that. So I use my discernment into realizing like what they are really qualified for and what they're sharing to actually get from them. And that's what I take from them. And I realize maybe what things they're speculating on as opposed to what things they've had experience with.
Yeah, I mean, everything's an inside job. And the more we can just look at ourselves and realize there is no them, and we can actually truly find peace and be peace, embody peace, instead of just talk about peace or look for peace. The very fact that you have to look for peace means you're looking outward instead of going inside. And when we go inside and do the work, which I really encourage everybody to do, and I'm doing it. Like I'm still doing it. No matter what age you are, there's going to be something to come up that you're going to have the opportunity to look inward. And, you know, pain is a great teacher a lot of times, you know, unfortunately, but when we can look inside and find peace, no matter what is going on externally. I mean, obviously there's been people who have been in prison wrongly, or, you know, different, tortured to death or whatever. But you read about these people who, no matter what's going on, that there's peace within. And to get to that place, I mean, that is like not that I want all kinds of shit to be around me all the time either, you know, but just to mentally know that I can love no matter what, and I could stay in my love and stay in my truth and stay in my peace, and to be and embody love and peace. That's my goal. And I've met a few people on the planet where you literally feel love from them standing next to them, or even being on a show with them, long distance, remote, like quantumly. And I'm like, whoa, that's like, I could feel love on legs, you know, and you get emotional. And that's, I know that for me, continuing to do the inner work is a major key to make more space for God to be able to, who is love, be radiating out of me to touch people in that way. And that's just kind of where I'm going, is continue that inside work no matter what's going on.
Yeah, agreed. Having that inner peace, that's something I say a lot as well, is like, how can we be at peace with ourselves no matter what the external world is like, right? And if more and more of us can do that, the external world has no choice but to reflect what's internal, right? So it's all a reflection anyway.
Unity consciousness is not just the collective. Unity starts in your own unity, your own alignment, your unity with what? Source, God, who is love. That is the alignment. And when we are that alignment and we are true to what love is, who love is, that's the opportunity to really touch people and to love on people wherever they are. And, you know, so that's, I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at.
Definitely.
No, I agree with that. And Neil, I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy called Bob Jones. He was someone. He was a very, very prophetic guy. Sharnael travelled with him. I never met him myself, being in the UK. I don't think he ever came over here, I think.
Yeah, he did. Many times. Manchester. Yeah.
Really? Manchester? That's right near me. Never mind.
All the time, yeah. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm looking at him right now. I have his picture. He looks over me all the time. But keep going.
Does he? Does he? Yeah. Well, Neil, this guy called Bob Jones, a very prophetic, very, very gifted. And I can't believe he came to Manchester and I never went. That's really upset me. Anyway, he had a death experience in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he died, you know, and he'd gone into the beyond, whatever you want to call it, and he actually was encountered with Jesus, and Jesus didn't say, "Did you go to church? Did you preach?" Jesus asked him, "Did you learn to love?" That's what was his concern. Now, as it happens, Bob Jones, he was asked to come back. There he is. There he is, Bob Jones. He died on Valentine's Day. Was it 2000?
Yep. Same day as Dr. Emoto. They both died on the same day.
Wow.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
He was Mr. Love. You know, he all the research with water and love. I mean,
that's right. Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And I just think that's the lesson. We're here to learn to love, and that includes loving the people we don't like. You know, loving our enemies. It's who does that anymore? Do you know what I mean? In this day and age, you know, love your enemies. There's a higher way here that is screaming to be walked. And I think it's time for us to consciously make that decision. We don't have to agree with everything somebody says, like you said before, Neil. You know, we don't have to agree. It's not about agreement. It's about transcending that and loving them regardless, because they are deserving of love, as are we deserving of love too.
Yeah. And that goes to another point that I've really been contemplating on for a while, is that, you know, when I first started doing Portal to Ascension events, 2009, 2010, and I was emceeing my events, I did like maybe 300-400 live events in 3 years, 2008 to 2011, in different cities, from San Diego to Vancouver to Victoria Island. And because I was just traveling full time, and I would start out all my events like this, about, you know, who Portal to Ascension is. And I'd be like, we're going to keep doing events until we no longer have to use the word unconditional before the word love again, you know? And then we'll probably be creating UFO landing docks after that. You know? And and I would say to people, like, because I came from a place of self-hate, lack of self-worth, traumas from childhood. So, but I knew, like, it's all about loving yourself. So at an early age, I'll be reflecting on that. What is loving yourself? Is loving yourself because of what you do? And I was like, well, no, loving yourself can't be what you do. We're human beings, not human doings. Yeah. It's got to be like, love. What is true unconditional love for the self? And I'll go, whoa, unconditional love for the self is loving yourself just for the simple fact that you exist. Yes. And that you are a fractalization of pure consciousness experiencing itself. Like, so how, and so many people, even that have self-worth and self-love, have tied it to their professions or what they do or how they give back.
Performance.
So how could you have that piece of unconditional love for yourself without what you do? And that's my journey. I've been on a 21-year journey of attempting to just love myself for the simple fact that I exist, because there was times within that where I was like, oh yeah, I'm great. Look at these events I'm creating. It's so freaking awesome. I'm doing something so good, you know, and now I'm at a different place. But so that's what I feel like is the ultimate goal, is that once we remember our spark of divinity and our connection to source, right? I think that's going to be easier for us. Now, I want to make a couple analogies here based on what you said, Craig, tied this all together. Because you were saying, you know, we're confronted evil right in its face. You said that a little earlier. Another thing I would think about, like when I was 18, 19, I started really wondering about this, because one of the first things that I came across was duality compared to singularity, existing in duality, ascending to the oneness, fifth dimension, all that stuff, right? So I was like, well, what is duality? Is duality like brutal killing, death, pillaging? And then I was like, well, if we're at the epitome of duality, like so many have prophesied, from channelers to researchers to spiritualists to Akashic Records readers, right? We're at the end of duality. Then where were we when entire armies were walking across countries, continents, slaughtering people with their hands, right? Was that more duality? And I'm like, well, in essence, that was more like a hive mind of a singularity within them. So I started realizing duality is the furthest you feel separated from source. And so then that goes into what's called the rubber band effect that Daryl Anka talks about, is that duality and this experience of the 3D is like a rubber band effect. You keep pulling back his source right here, right? And then you keep pulling back the rubber band far and far, far, and you feel completely disconnected from source. Individuality kicks in and in disharmonic way. People are moving away from religion for actual great reasons, but also becoming really disconnected from the whole thing in general because of the trauma from that, right? And then all of a sudden you get to the bottom of duality, and then you let go of the rubber band, and you go into the next dimension, and game over for the last virtual reality, organic dimension, holographic experience that we've been in. Move into the next one. And then the analogy to add to that, so that's like the evil confrontation thing, is I feel like it's almost like, if you think of every dimension in a quantum physics perspective, where you go through a wormhole into another dimension, you can think of the 3D as this wormhole, this black hole that we've been here, and we were at the outer edges of this black hole, taking lifetimes to go around. And we would have, within 2 to 3 lifetimes, we'll have certain experiences, we transcend certain traumas, and then as we got closer and closer to the singularity, which is this moment now, basically, we started getting closer and closer to the center of the black hole. And now we're spinning around that thing like the event horizon, like really, really, really fast. And experiences that took like lifetimes to get, you're getting smacked in the face 3 times a day with the same thing. Learn your lesson, learn your lesson, learn your lesson. And this is our transcending of trauma, the transcending of karma, trauma, whatever, transcending of past experiences, or the lessons we need to be the teachers of the new ones. So that's why we're being confronted with the depths of darkness right now, because darkness is the dualistic expression of the light. We're in the depths of that dualistic expression. So as we move in through that singularity, we emerge into the next one. So these are all just like how I kind of think about it in my head in regards to the fact that's inevitable. The reason why we see so much darkness, the reason why we're being confronted with it, is because we cannot be the caretakers of this new world in this new dimension without confronting and bringing peace to all these traumas that we've manifested for ourselves, including traumas that come from off planet, all types of things that happen within our galaxy.
Yeah. Preach it, brother.
And you can blame it on, ancestors or whatever. But if the way I see it is, if you see it, then it's yours to fix. Like, whatever comes up, if it's coming up to love and to heal. And no matter if it's yours or if it just came in, when you incarnated or whatever, it's all opportunity. It's all opportunity just to love. Because when we love that trauma or trigger, no matter it was, it could be ours. It collapses within, and when it collapses, it just gives more space for God or love to be where that place was already with the dissonance, and now it's like harmony. Like, anyway, but
not resisting and fighting against that trauma, but integrating it really and bringing love and peace to it.
Yes. Yeah. Self-healing is very, very powerful. It's a big lesson. Obviously, we were taught, weren't we, that we had to wait for God to heal us, but God's given us the power to heal these things. And like you say, you just apply love. The areas where I feel wounded or disappointed or hurt, just release that unconditional love. We all go through situations that disturb us. We may have fallouts and things like that, but some, self-love, I'm learning, is a really real powerful gift to heal these wounds that we inevitably suffer in this life. So yeah, I think that's a great topic.
Yep. And that brings the peace that you're talking about, Dr. Sharnael. How do you have that peace within you? Is to really love all aspects of yourself.
Yes, and I actually went through a similar thing that you were talking about. I was involved in so many things. My calendar was so full. And I felt like Creator was saying, quit everything and just lay on the floor and be with me. And I was like, what? And I mean, it was embarrassing to quit some of this stuff. I was in the middle of a semester of seminary. I had great grades. I quit everything at my church. Like, people were saying shit. I mean, it was like, dealing with how to deal with me just being true to myself. And then, they called for a while and I would be annoyed, like, quit asking me, I'm not going to be able to do anything right now. I'm just like doing this. But then they stopped. And then I went through the whole, like, nobody's calling me, it's just like, so, right. And then I'm like, I'm going to catch up on all these books and read all these things. And then it was like, I kept getting like, almost like a check. Don't do that either. And I'm like, what can I do? Just tell me, what can I do? And it was like, you can sit and meditate and hang out with me every day. like, and you could take care of your family and your health and, you know, just the basics. And I thought it was going to be like 6 months and it ended up being a year. But during that process, it was like all that performance programming, because I was like, what? I'm just going to sit here. And I would like start meditating and it would be like, what? It's been 5 seconds. That's it. It seems like eternity. And then, but then you start to get into this like, wow, I love this. You know, you don't want it to be over. And, you know, you're like, wow, let's just keep on. And yeah, I first heard be still and know that I'm God. And then it was be still. And then I just heard be. And I'm like, dude, how do you be? I'm like thinking, how do you be? But I saw the rat race. And what I heard is, I want you to stay here until you know that I love you just as much as you just sitting here doing nothing, than you doing all the things that you've been doing, because I just love you for you. And that was like a biggie for me to just like relax and be like, wow, you just love me because I exist. You know, just like I have kids now and I look at my kids and I'm like, I just love you. You know, like I have a grandbaby now. I'm like, I just freaking love you. I don't care what you do. Like I just, and it's taken a little bit to get there, but I hope that we can all get there. And anyway, I'm so glad you popped on.
Let me just say, that's so inspirational what you just shared right there. Like that really.
Like, how do you be? Like, what's up with that? What do you mean be? You know, but you're right. We're not human beings. I mean, we're human beings. And be, you know, then that's a great opportunity to just radiate God, who's already in every cell that we have, and beam that out, you know, like channel God and be that. But so we have a thing coming up in April, but I know you have other stuff coming up. So you want to share real quick before we pop off, and then how can people find you and, you know, all that great stuff.
All right. Sounds good. So first, how you can find me, the best way to connect is portaltoascension.org, right? Portaltoascension.org, and sign up there. You immediately get a username and password emailed to you where you have access to 3,000 hours of presentations sorted by category, speaker, topic. You know, even if you start watching something for an hour and you come back, it will start where you left off. Like we have all the bells and whistles you need. We have an interview section, a documentary section, and ultimately this around 10,000 hours of presentations altogether. 3,000 of it is available for free. New free footage is added monthly. Our youtube.com/portal-to-ascension is also in the description I saw on this video. You can check that out. That's growing a lot. That we have daily content, interviews, all types of topics, walk-in phenomena, starseed, ancient history, the true timeline of history, sacred sexuality, you know, so much. So our website, lots of presentations, and you'll also be added to our email list, in which we'll give you updates. We send mission updates of what's going on. We do paid events. We do free events. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel, we're doing the International UFO Symposium, where we have Korea ufologists, Japanese ufologists, Chinese ufologists, South American. It's the first ever Portal to Ascension International UFO Forum, where we're now going to do probably every other month an international forum, because it's not just about the US. So we're going to feature a lot of other people that are doing the research and having ET contact all over the world. Now, in regards to some events coming up, if you go to portaltoascension.org, go to online events, you'll see a list of this, like almost 100 events there for this whole year up until November. And we're constantly, right now, I'm creating the North American conference for Civilization Conference in November. But some of the main ones coming up pretty soon. We do have an event with Marina Seren on March 17th called Make Contact with Extraterrestrial Workshop, the tools and modalities of ET contact. And she is an experiencer, 21-year-old experiencer, has been having contact since she was like 14, and has all these different tools in which you can manifest this. Some conferences that are going to be really epic will be, the first one is on March 26th, we have Extraterrestrial Races, Planets, and Technology online conference with 10 speakers, where we're going to be talking about theoretical physics, in which we can have like space travel to other dimensions. We're going to have someone who actually has astral travel to planets talking about the technology. We got people like Mary Rodwell, Barbara Lamb. So we're going to talk about different ET races and what they represent and what their planets look like. So this is going to be, because we do a lot of esoteric spiritual ET stuff, this is going to be like kind of more grounded and practical about like how is this going to be implemented once we have open contact with ETs. April 2nd, we have the second annual Pyramid Knowledge Conference, all-day event on hardcore mathematics, sacred geometry, ley line information on ancient pyramids. And then on April 3rd, we have a free conference that will also be on YouTube called Psychology, Evidence, and Science Behind After-Death Communication and Near-Death Experiences, because it's been accepted by the mainstream now that near-death experiences are happening. So that's going to be cool. But the event that Dr. Sharnael is going to be on, which is coming up after that, is our signature event every single year. The last 3 years, it's been for free because we've done it online. It's free or by donation. And then in April of 2023, we're going back to doing it live in San Diego, California. But this is the Portal to Ascension Conference. There's around 35 speakers. It's going to be 3 days. There's going to be an Ascension panel, an Experiencer ET panel, 7 MCs, 10 hours a day for 3 days, and nonstop awareness. So you can go to portaltoascension.org, online events, check them out there, sign up for whatever. There's a handful of free events there. There's a bunch of paid events there. And the Portal to Ascension one, and this is what I've been saying about it, is basically it's an infusion of consciousness into the timeline. Nonstop hardcore awareness of uplifting awareness from every angle. Portal to Ascension represents so many different topics, because ultimately, if we're ascending, right, into this higher octave of existence, every single thing, including me picking up my phone right now, is within that. So that's why I love the word Portal to Ascension, because it's literally like everything. So this event is going to showcase a wide array of topics to help expand your consciousness, but also implement the experiences that we need to do what we've been talking here, which is cultivate inner peace, self-love, and all that. So check it out on portaltoascension.org.
Awesome. Well, we sure appreciate you being here. And I'm looking forward to all of this coming up. You have so many great things coming up. And
thank you.
Yes, definitely. You guys jump on and connect with him and see what he's got going on this year. There's a lot more coming up in the fall as well. But yeah, if you can get there, then you're going to have access to all of it. In the meantime, Craig, how can we find you?
Sorry, caught me off guard there. Yeah, find me on Facebook, Craig Martin Walker. You can find the band Ascension Music on Facebook. We have a website, ascension.com. My wife and I also run a crystal shop, crystalfalls.co.uk. Feel free to go and take a look on there. Yeah, send me a message. I'll talk to anyone within reason.
It's actually true.
I know.
So
trouble, but
yes. So you guys can find me at swiftfire.org. Please go on the newsletter, swiftfire.org. Swift as in fastfire.org. And also, I'm on definitely YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. I'm teaching a live event here coming up at the Awakenings Crystal Shop here in town on the 24th. So if you guys live in the area, I'd love to have you there. I'm going to be teaching on the science of miracles, which I'm going to be going over in my book and talking a lot about that. And I was going to show it to you, but I don't have it in front of me right now. But yeah, check out my book, The Science of Miracles. It's on audio now. You can catch that too. But love you guys so much. And we will be back next week with Jay Widener. He'll be Thursdays at noon is our show, The Truth Matters. And so that's our next guest. So stay tuned for that too. Make sure to get on the newsletter so you know what's coming up. And I just appreciate both of you guys so much. Thank you. And y'all have a great night. Thanks for everybody who's watching too. Love all y'all happy people who've joined us today. And please do your due diligence and tagging and sharing and getting this out. If we can get some more people in unity consciousness within and without, hey, we can change the world just with a handful of people here. And we all love all y'all and love all your comments, and I just appreciate you so much. So
bye everyone.
All right, talk soon.
Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.